So here's just a quick explanation of our next sketchbook, number 4, I think. Anyway, I went ahead and I printed out the page number 2, which is what I'd like you guys to do. It might be hard to see here, but what I've done is I've just taken a red pen and I've just gone around the shadow shapes, just outlining the shadow shapes. Now, everybody's going to end up with something a little bit different because you're going to have to make a decision where you think shadow is and shadow isn't. Like I've mentioned before in the class, a good rule of thumb is if it's 50% or down, we're going to call it a shadow shape. If it's 50% or up, we're going to call it a light shape. So what I've done first is just outline in red pen where the shadow shapes are, where it's going to be all black. And then what I've done is I've taken a green Sharpie, and again, it might be difficult to see this. I've taken a green Sharpie and I've filled in those shapes. Now you don't have to take a green Sharpie, you can just take a black one. But I tried to make this look as visible as possible. And then after you've done that, after you've got an idea of where these shadow shapes are, you're gonna take a separate piece of paper, and all I have here is a piece of computer paper. You're gonna take a separate piece of paper here, and you're gonna, without, it's a little bit unclear, I noticed on the explanation of it, on the directions, where I say without using this. I don't mean you can't look at this. I mean you can't trace it. So if that was a little bit unclear, that's what I mean by that. But yeah, for sure I want you to look at this, and I want you to come over here. Sorry. I want you to come over here, and I want you to look at these shadow shapes over here and try to replicate these shadow shapes on this page, just by drawing the shadow shapes. So I might start with this other horn up here, once again staying as geometric as possible. Down this way. And you can measure, you can take this thing and kind of measure where you think how big the shadow shapes are going to be. But up here, instead of drawing the horn, I'm going to be drawing where that shadow shape cuts in over this way. This one, down. And I'm going to continue to draw this whole picture here, but it's just going to be a picture of where the shadow shapes are. And just looking at those shadow shapes, how those shadow shapes are going to create that picture. So we got this shadow shape. Eventually that, you'd want to fill that in with black Sharpie marker, but I want to make this, it looks a little distorted because of the camera here, but I want to make this shape replicate what's going on with this shape. So whatever is going on over here with this shadow shape, I want to recreate over here. If you have your sketchbook, go ahead. You can go ahead and can put this in your sketchbook and draw in your sketchbook. If you don't, you'll notice all I have here is just the printout, and I have computer paper and just a regular pencil over here. And here is the finished one. Now remember, you're supposed to do both for this sketchbook assignment. You're supposed to do that skull and that skull. This is a finished one I just did with some Sharpie. You'll notice a couple things on it. Number one, it's as geometric as possible. You want to try to stay geometric. You don't want to get too roundy with stuff. You want to keep your angles strong. You want to keep the shape somewhat simplified. You don't want to get too technical with that shadow edge. Number two, the shadows all go completely black, so you're filling it in with the Sharpie. The trick is that I'm not using any contours here. I don't want you to draw out the edges of the skull at all. I want the image to come through just based on the shadow shape. And so when you're drawing this in, like these gaps right here, I want you to judge those gaps of where they are and not go in and draw the actual horn in here, so that the meat and potatoes of this drawing all comes through with the shadow shapes. It may seem a little bit tedious, but the point of this assignment is to really look for those shadow shapes, because once again, the key to getting a good value drawing, a good chiaroscuro drawing, is a strong shadow shape and not all the blendiness and all the quote-unquote shading. So remember, for this assignment, I'm really looking for the printout with the traced over shadow shapes on here, and then a separate page with both skulls of where you chose to keep that shadow shape. I don't want to see any contours. I just want to see the shadow shape. And once again, you will post, you could take this as all one image if you want, or you could take two separate images and post those to the discussions thread for this assignment. And it will be due Thursday at by midnight, by 11:59 Thursday. And once again, email me if you got any questions. Okay.